Hey, what up, family? This is Doug Reether with Let's Go Show. Super excited once again. I always tell you, never know who's going to stop by the Let's Go Show. I got Sarina and I actually got Isaac. Before I get into depth about how the show is going to go, I just want them to do a quick interview and tell them exactly what you do. I'll start with you, Sarina.
Hi, my name is Sarina DiBianca, and I run a nonprofit that is working on educating kids about contracting HIV and AIDS, anxiety, and depression in today's world.
Oh, wow. Thank you. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Mr. Isaac, let's spill the beans.
Isaac Redman, played for the Pittsburgh Steelers for 5 years. I'm currently giving back to the community by coaching youth football and mentoring youth and high school football players, just trying to help them become better athletes and better people.
Yeah. So everybody, you see how this is going. And the reason why I brought both of them on, helped Sarina with Jermaine Jones. She was helping him out. And of course, now Isaac Redman, another professional athlete, play for the Pittsburgh Steelers, of course, supporting, and our main focus is on our youth. So Isaac, if I can just kind of go to you, because I know you come with like a South Jersey pass, tell us like where you grew up at.
I'm from Paulsboro, New Jersey, small town out in South Jersey, very rich town with sports. Sports is basically everything in our town. I grew up idolizing family members of Kevin Harvey, who's, known as maybe one of the best high school football players in the history of New Jersey. Kevin Ross and, guys like Todd McNair. And Paulsboro is just a little small town where, sports is everything. And growing up, football was my passion. And I got to be able to see guys like Flipper Anderson and Kevin Ross in the NFL coming from where I came from. And that was just my ultimate dream, was to get to the NFL. And God willing, I was able to make it and make my dream come true.
Wow, let me go back now, because I don't know. I might have to throw a yellow flag on you, because I'm familiar with Paulsboro. I'm familiar even, let's say youth football. I used to referee with the South Jersey board. And actually I worked in that area down in it's been some years. Because there's a guy, I'm not sure if you know Lonnie. What was Lonnie's last name? Very prominent in Paulsboro, did a lot of youth stuff. But how was it? Let's say your career as a young guy. How was that career? What particular South Jersey football team did you play with? And I don't even know if they even keep stats, but I know if I reached out to your parents and your friends, they can tell me how many touchdowns you had in one given season.
The youth, I played for the Paulsboro Oilers. We were called the Oilers back then. Playing youth football. We had the little lighthouse like the Houston Oilers on the side, and it was kind of cool because at our midget football field we had a big lighthouse at our midget football field. If you ever come to Paulsboro, so it was cool to have that on the side of our helmet. And I wasn't really the best player on the team when we were younger. Sometimes it works out that when I was the best defensive player, but I wasn't always the fastest. And when you playing youth football, it's the fastest kid on the team pretty much scoring the touchdowns. Until I kind of got a little growth spurt and got to high school and things changed. So when you're younger, you may not be the best. So you just got to keep pushing yourself, to get there.
Yeah, and Sarina, as you hear, Isaac tell his story, and I know you're from the South Jersey area as well. What kind of puts you in, let's say, in a servant mode to give back to our communities?
I grew up on a horse farm, and my mom was that person that always was reaching out, always helping. If she saw somebody sitting, by themselves, she would go and sit with them. And I think I got my love of humanity from growing up on a horse farm and, growing up in kind of under my mom's wing. So that gave me the love of people.
Oh, I mean, And that's the thing about it. Once again, if you don't know, I worked in a federal prison 25 years, dealt with the height of the crack law and seen a lot of African Americans get incarcerated. Paulsboro is a small town in South Jersey. So even at, I think, Isaac, even as you go through, and I think you went to, did you go to a HBCU?
Yes, I went to Bowie State University.
Tell us about that time.
That was a great time. Going to HBCU was definitely different. Actually went and visited, a couple other colleges. And when you step onto a HBCU campus, just the whole atmosphere is different. Everybody looks like you, which was a big thing for me. It was like a brotherhood. It was like, everybody was family. One thing I said, going to class was like a fashion show, but yeah, they correct going to class, but the band, the fashion shows, just everything about an HBCU. And then we had the surrounding schools where you got Hampton and Virginia, you got Howard right there, you got Morgan State right there. So going to those schools and going to I never thought I'd be in the fashion shows, but just watching the sororities and the fraternities and everything about it, it was just amazing experience to be a part of.
Now, Sarina, as you hear that, one thing about HBCU comes a certain level of pride. And you gain a certain level of confidence. Like Isaac said, it was a great opportunity to actually be at another educational level with his people, as far as us, as far as Black people. Now, what were some of your contributing factors that gave you a sense of pride and a sense of teamwork and unity?
I work with adults living with HIV and AIDS, and the vast majority of them are people of color. And I know it's bad to say you don't see color. So I don't want to say you don't see color, because we do. But I don't judge by color, if that makes sense. And so I was being interviewed on NBC, and they said to me, all right, you work with all these adults, what's next for Siloam? And I said, well, I would love us to go out of business, because I don't, not because we don't have money, but because the disease has been eradicated. And then I was driving home after my interview, and I thought, well, you threw that out there. Now you have to do something about it, And so that's when I called Jermaine, and I called my other friend, Phil Martelli, who had been the coach of St. Joe's for 36 years, and said, hey, I want to put on this sporting event. I need to get in front of kids. You guys can get me there. I can't, and they said, okay. And to get back to not judging by color for a second, I have 3 daughters, and I said to my daughter, Shayna, don't judge people, judge them for in here. So my son-in-law is a Black man, and my 2 grandbabies are just the most beautiful kids in the world. And when she married Ben, I was like, I did a good job. I told her not to judge, and she didn't judge. Yeah. Right. So I was very proud of the fact that I could be a change in our future, because we're all human and we were all made equal. And if more people felt like I feel, we wouldn't have the vast amount of racism that we have in this country, which goes against everything that I believe in.
Yeah. And Isaac, you hear this, and I know, as coming out of high school, now going to Bowie State, now comes a certain level of attention, a certain level of people, looking up to you. What was your driving force, or what was that changing point from going from you coming out of a small town in Paulsboro, you coming from a HBCU, the chances, I don't know what the stats are, but the chance of, I know what I would say even the stats of somebody going to the NFL is not very great. but coming with those factors, and let's say marginalized communities. So when we look at that, what was your driving force and your determination that you would get to the NFL?
Honestly, I think my number one driving force was my family, my mom, my sister. I was doing it for them. We were struggling at the time, and I knew this was my opportunity to take care of my family. So when I got to the Steelers, I was pretty much no chance of me making the football team. And I remember getting interviewed, and the guy says, what's your worries? Or are you nervous that you won't make the team? Or what's the biggest worry that you have right now out here at Steelers camp? And I told him I had no worries, because the hard part was getting there. Playing football is what I do. And now that I'm here and able to showcase my talent, I have no worries whether I'm going to make this team, whether I'm going to be stick around or not. And they was like, wow, that's a great answer. And so I pushed myself to the limit. I didn't want to leave anything out there. I didn't want any regrets. I didn't want to look back and say I should have did this or I should have done that. I could have worked harder here. So I just try to push myself to the very peak of my very limit, and the coaches seeing how hard I was working. And I was actually the last person picked. I didn't get drafted, and I was the last free agent. Mike Tomlin told me the story that they were tired of being in the room, and they needed one more free agent. And Mike Tomlin said, you know what, let's give the kid from Bowie State a chance and let's go home.
Wow.
And they didn't think I would stick around long. And that was the chip on my shoulder when I got there, to know that they didn't. Basically, I was real close to not even being here. So I had nothing to lose. I went out there, I performed, and the rest was history. I wound up staying there for 5 years.
Wow. So, and I think this is what, 2008, 2009?
2009. Yeah, they just won the Super Bowl. So they were like, we're cool, but they just won the Super Bowl. I'm coming to the Super Bowl champs. Last guy picked to come to the team. And my first year, they actually put me on a practice squad. And then the next year, I made my way onto the team. And then working my way to becoming the starting running back.
Yeah, you know what? I happened to do some work with Charlemagne the God on Mental Wealth Expo up in New York City. And the first year we did, it's been 2 years now. I was working with a guy, Ryan Mundy. Do you know Ryan? Yeah,
I know. I role play with Ryan. He has things going on right now too, man.
Yeah, me and Ryan actually clicked, and now I'm it's funny because I end up knowing his teammate at Michigan. I think was it Michigan or Michigan State, which was oh my God, I forget his name. Play for the Steelers, play for the Eagles. Just goes, my mind goes. But the thing I think about is the fact that I get an opportunity now to have a conversation with you. And how that happened, what's, Sarina, knowing her and knowing Jermaine, just like you said, things just happen, and people give you that opportunity. So Sarina, if I could ask you, how did you guys actually get into or meet to bring things together for what it is now?
How did Isaac and I meet?
Yes.
So I have a very good friend of mine, Bill Wallace, who is best friends with Kevin Ross. And he said to me, he knew what I had been doing with Jermaine in basketball. And he said, hey, my friend's running a football camp. Come out to lunch with us. So I went out to lunch with Kevin, and he said, let's do this. We could use your help. So then he put me in touch with Isaac, and Isaac and I went out to breakfast. And I said to Isaac, like, what makes you tick? And he said, my kids. He goes, I have 3 kids. And at the time, his youngest was a baby. He's like, we just had our third. He's, I want to be a good father. I want to be a good role model. I want to be a good leader in the community. And I thought, this is the guy that I love everything that he is saying about community and how to be that better role model. And I thought, this is something I want to get involved with, because they have the mission, and I've got the passion, and I'm not saying they don't, but they've got the passion that meets my passion in a different way. You know, the reality is these kids, they're not going to want to talk to me. I don't look like them. I've never been on a field. You know, reality is they don't want to talk to me. They don't want to listen to me. I get it. But they need to listen to me and or some of my board members that do look like them, that can say, hey, do you know what the stats are? And if you want to be that football guy that makes it to the NFL, you can't get HIV on the way, because once you have a broken immune system, you're not healthy and you can't do the things maybe physically that you want to do. And so we've got to reach them that way, because how do I get in front of kids? They're not going to, this isn't a subject matter that kids want to talk about. So, and I have to be very careful in what I say, because you don't want to offend parents by saying, hey, parents don't want to talk about my kid having sex.
Wow.
But the reality is the kids are going to do what kids do, right? And so I'm not trying to say go out and have sex. I'm just saying, if and when you do make that step, make sure you're safe.
Yeah.
Make sure you're safe.
Wow. So now, and that's big. I mean, because one thing that we always want to do is make sure, you know, I do a lot of work with men. One of the things, even creating the space for men, is always trying to make it safe where they can be vulnerable to express themselves. And now here you guys have actually got this camp going on where kids having the opportunity to come into a space and let go and be free, and yet be taught. You know, Isaac, tell us more about this camp, where it's going to be held at, who's all involved. As much as you can tell us about this camp.
So it's the Ross Redman Legends Football Camp. You know, I wouldn't say I started this camp, because my idea of this camp came from Kevin Ross, who will hold camps when I was a kid. And so that's where the vision first started for me for this camp. Being a young kid who idolized so many different players, just to see somebody in the NFL come back, give to the community. It was always free. It was always players coming down. He would, you know, have Todd McNair, some other guys that from the NFL. And I just always thought, like, man, when I make it to the NFL, I want to do this. Like, this is what I want to do. So, I mean, the second I got to the NFL, I didn't even know I was going to make a team or not. I was thinking, I got to have my camp in Paulsboro. Like, I got to start doing something. And so the first time I held my camp, I think it was 2011, 2012 was my first camp held. And I actually didn't make it free. I charged like $25, and then all the proceeds went to the Paulsboro Little League football program, who were struggling at the time. So I said, well, let's make it a fundraiser, you know, for them, to help them get back on their feet. Because at that time, they didn't even have the youth football in Paulsboro anymore, which was unheard of. So I said, oh, no, I've never heard of football not being in Paulsboro. So that helped the organization get back on their feet and start getting back to, you know, the old Paulsboro ways. And then ever since then, 2011, I started doing it. I've been doing the camp every year. And then me and Kevin wound off getting together, and he was like, let's start doing it together. I want to get back into the community. He had started getting back into coaching. He had stopped coaching for a little while. He had started getting back into coaching, and said, let's go, you know. And so we started doing the Ross Redman camp. It's held at Paulsboro High School. This year is June 24th and 25th, from 9 to 12. It's a Saturday and Sunday. We'll have currently in NFL right now, we have offensive lineman Julian Davenport. He's actually from Paulsboro. He's a graduate from Bucknell. We also have Gerald Hodges from Paulsboro. Gerald Hodges played at Penn State. He played for the Vikings, played for the 49ers, played for a bunch of different teams. Linebacker, we also have Dyshawn Davis, who played a little bit in the NFL. He's from Camden. They went to Woodbury High School. played overseas a little bit of football. He's actually coaches on my youth football team with me. You have Todd McNair, who's the Buccaneers running back coach. We have Lori Locust, NFL, one of the female NFL coaches who was formerly with the Buccaneers. She's now with the Tennessee Titans.
Wow.
We also have the Buccaneers quarterback coach who worked really close with Tom Brady. He will be there. Just a lot of people that's coming through that can give a lot of football knowledge, a lot of self-knowledge. So the camp's going to be big, and we got Sarina has gotten some sponsors for us. We got the T-shirts, we got some giveaway bags. So the camp's going to be phenomenal, and it's definitely going to be teamwork.
Wow. And I just think, it started with just giving back. If I could go back, and it's funny how things just kind of circle back. If I could go back, let's say maybe 25 years. I started helped a guy. He's talking about working with Kevin Ross, and I worked with a couple guys out of Camden City Police Department. We ran a youth organization called Partnership for Youth. So we took the police officers. I took some guys, some correction officers. I was in the drill sergeant unit in reserves down in Pennsauken. And one of the guys that was very instrumental with us, and even he's retired out of the police department, was Davenport, which is his son that you spoke of. And I'm just thinking like, hey, me and Dav, we go back years, 25 years. And now to be interviewing you in reference to him coming through that camp, making a significant difference in his life as far as the rest of the Paulsboro, getting all these kids to, sign up. You talked about the people that's involved. And I know Sarina's handling some of the administration process. Like Sarina, I mean, how many kids can we expect at this camp?
We're going to blow it up this year. We're blowing it up. Isaac and I are like, we've never seen numbers this large, this fast. So as I said, and let me say this, Aetna Better Health of Pennsylvania is our sponsor. So we're bringing buses in from kids from Philly, because we've got to get Philly youth involved in this as well. Philly is once again a kind of a system that doesn't always have, like Paulsboro does, where the programs, when they're really little, because they don't have the funds and the finances. And it's really important to give those kids as well, because they're right over the bridge, and families kind of bounce back and forth. They have family on both sides, and so there's a very tight knit community between Camden, Paulsboro, and Philly. So there will be a lot of Philadelphia kids there as well.
Yeah. And Isaac, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Isaac didn't mention, and I always like to toot his horn, but one of the things that I am amazed is that to this day, the Steelers give out a Isaac Redman award every year, and he'll never tell you that, but I'm here to tell you that. Okay. So I know he wants to downplay, but he needs to just like shine in the moment of what he not only has done, but what he's continuing to do with all of the knowledge on the field, off the field, being a parent, being a dad, being a community leader. These are the gentlemen that I like to walk next to and say, yeah, they're my friends, and we can do this bigger and better together. I can't do this by myself. I need him. So
tell us more about this award, Isaac. I mean, she threw you out there, so you got to tell us more about this award.
It's an award that they made up. It's an award they made up because I was such of a long shot to making the team. And so, and now it's every year during training camp, they do an Isaac Redman Award for the biggest standout in training camp. It's for somebody that comes out of nowhere, that may make the team out of with a long shot to make the team. So now every year they find somebody that maybe was a low draft pick or a free agent that's just blowing up at camp, and then they give the Isaac Redman Award for that, because I was obviously the person that started that trend.
I mean, I can tell you're a real humble guy, but I mean that's got to give you a sense of pride and confidence. I mean, how do you feel about an award being named after you?
I mean, it's definitely a sense of pride. It's something that you can show your kids. I have 3 sons. I have 3 boys, 12, 7, and 3. They're the greatest of all time in football. They think their daddy ain't do too much, so that's something I can brag about with my kids. All they want to talk about, they want to turn YouTube on and show me plays where I got hit.
Right.
But there's definitely a sense of pride, and definitely a sense of like, yeah, I left my mark. Just knowing I left my mark somewhere. And they actually brought me back to Pittsburgh last year for a little homecoming during the preseason last year, and was able to bring my family and
Wow.
sideline. And I've been there. I've been going so long. It's only one guy on the team left that I know. I'm like, wow, and that's Cam Hayward is the only player left on the team. But he came over, spoke with my kids, took pictures, and the coaches came over. I got to talk to Mike Tomlin. He took my number down. And that was just a great experience, because my kids were my oldest son was too young to remember going to the games and all that. So he's a big time Steelers fan. So he was just in awe being able to be on the sideline and meet the players. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's got to be, something. I mean, because we're talking about, I always speak about generations and generations and generations after. This is something that goes back. That's the legacy that you have left behind and will continue to leave behind. And Sarina, so now tell me, even what you do, you're a connector, you're a resource. Like, what are some of the things that you have planned going forward?
Well, a couple of the things that we're working on with Aetna is, after this, we have another camp in July in Camden at Whitman Park on the 8th and the 9th. And we had the basketball, but then we are running a program called I Can't to I Can with Aetna, changing the mindset of children, inner city children who say, I can't do it. So once your thoughts create your words, and your words create your actions. So if I think I'm dumb, my words are I'm dumb, and my actions are I don't go to school, I don't raise my hand, I'm the class clown, all of these things. So we always say, all of us in life at one point or another have told ourselves a lie, right? I'm not good enough, I'm not big enough, I'm not, wealthy enough, I'm whatever it is. I'm not skinny enough, I'm not big enough, I'm not tall, whatever. When the reality is, you are you, and you're perfect just the way you are. So if you're going to tell yourself a lie, which is I'm dumb, then let's reconnect and tell yourself something different, which is I'm smart. Own who you are. So if you raise your hand and you get the answer wrong, guess what? You'll learn from it and you'll get the answer right next time. So we have that program coming on, which is going to be on Zoom to stop the barriers. And Isaac, as soon as the camp is over and we get those 300 names, we've already sent out a letter to all of those parents saying, hey, would you like your kids to be involved in I Can't to I Can, and shift that mindset, which will help them on and off the field. Because Isaac, as you know, it doesn't matter how good you are in the field if you can't pass a test and you can't get into college, So you've got to have both academics as well as the physical prowess. And then we're also running a teen drop-in center with a psychologist, Dr. Bob Thornton, where teens can join in and talk about anything, whatever is bothering them: gun violence, sexuality, my sister's doing drugs, what do? Do I tell my mom? whatever it is, I'm anxious, I'm scared, I'm afraid to walk to school because of the gun violence in Philly, whatever it is. And we want them to have a platform where they can talk to other kids and professionals to have them be healthier and not have anxiety and depression. Because as we know, and Isaac has always said that the streets got the most talented people before the NFL could get them. He told me that last year, so I always remembered that. And so to that point, if they get anxious and they get depressed, they're going to turn to drugs, they're going to turn to guns, they're going to turn to risky sexual behavior. None of that creates a healthy adult. So that's my goal.
Yeah, well, I mean, I thank you for your continuous work that you do, and definitely, you already know I'm there. Any support that you need.
I know.
Like you said something that we share. That's that energy and a driving force, especially for our kids. So Isaac, tell me what's next. I mean, this seems to be or will be one of the biggest camps that you had. And we're talking, 11, 12 years or even more. But what's next for Isaac?
I mean, obviously we have the camp now, and as far as the future for the camp, it's just I'm hoping it goes full circle, like it's going for me. Funny thing is, I have a picture that we actually put out on our first poster with me as a kid, Kevin Ross, Isaac McNair at his camp. Julian Davenport came to my first camp, and now he's at my camp. So, when I'm done, with the camp, and maybe it can turn into the Julian Davenport camp, and he can take pictures, and he'll be, an influence on another kid that will come up, and then, it will just keep that thing rolling there. I also started a running back academy. It's called Red Zone Running Back Academy, where I've been training everywhere from guys trying to make it to the NFL, guys preparing for college, to youth football kids. So I've literally trained kids from 5 years old to 20 years old. So right now I'm doing that. It's actually doing really well. Also started a 7-on-7 football program called Slime University, where we have everywhere from 10U to 18U teams. And we're actually helping mentor these kids and trying to make sure they're doing the right things in school to get to college academically, taking the right classes, make sure they have the right SAT prep and the SAT coaches. So I started that with a couple of my family members. Also coach youth football still down in Denver, coach my 12-year-old team with my oldest son. So we're gearing up for our season right now. We just won a championship last year. So hoping to repeat with that. And just trying to be a great dad, man, and being with my kids every day. And that's my biggest goal, was just making sure my three boys are heading in the right direction.
Yeah, really appreciate that, man. I mean, it's amazing. I like how things are going full circle. I like how I mean, because we talk about a team, you talk about the veterans, and you talk about, you think about rookies, and there's always somebody pulling somebody up, or somebody teaching somebody something. So, I mean, in regards to what you made the statement as far as Julian, and, maybe the next poster be me and him, and, what you and Kevin Ross. So somebody was always pulling somebody up, and you've done that. Now we're talking about pulling 350 kids into an area and an environment to, push positivity, education, and of course, just determination. So I really appreciate you guys actually coming on the Let's Go show. I am excited. Once again, I mean, like I told Sarina, Isaac, anything that you need, I'm there, and so supportive of the things you do and the future things you do. And
You're more than welcome to come join us.
yeah, you know what? I told you, I'm looking at my schedule. I'm trying to make adjustments. Go ahead, Isaac.
At least one of the 2 days.
Yeah, we out there for 2 days. The second day, we'll have a barbecue, and you don't want to miss these ribs that's going to be out there. That's all I'm going to say to you.
See, you had to go there. You had to go there with the ribs. So yeah,
you ever had in your life, I ain't gonna lie.
Oh, okay. Hey, well, mark me down. So, hey, once again, everybody, if you haven't heard about the camp that's going to take place June 24th, with Isaac Redman and Kevin Ross, and where's that going to be at, Isaac?
Paulsboro High School.
Paulsbury High School, June the 24th. You got to get down there. Sarina is very instrumental in that, bringing resources together, what she does. I mean, I love her for that. And I just thank everybody for actually coming on the show. And you know what I say? Let's go, baby. Peace. I'm out.
And the quote for the camp is, "Who's next?" So let's go, and who's next?
Let's go, and who's next?